All right, well, welcome back to Open Bible, Open Life. I love having different staff on here, and today I have our first and our best campus pastor, Luke Rosenberger. Luke, let's just start talking about how did you get to Winston-Salem? Okay, because before you were here, you were in, of all places, Ohio.
That's right.
How do you get from Ohio to Winston-Salem, North Carolina?
So I was in pastoral ministry. I was serving at a church. I was at that church for 9 years. And 2021, it was time for me to step down and step away. And a pastor that I'd served alongside of, his aunt was the executive director of, she was the executive director of the Pregnancy Network here in Winston-Salem and in Greensboro. And so had a conversation, sent my resume, and so I came down here to be the associate executive director of the Pregnancy Network.
The Pregnancy Network, yes, which that's how we got to know you initially.
Yes. Yeah.
And then you are in Kernersville, living in Kernersville, because you're really serving the whole triad, but you're particularly serving Greensboro, Winston office. You're living in the middle of it. You end up at our church. This is what I love.
Yeah.
So many of our staff, by God's grace, have been at our church before they were on our staff.
Yeah.
And so they had our culture. They loved our church. I often say, I'm not trying to pick on any staff or anything, or churches, but a lot of times people end up having to work for churches they would never go to.
Right.
Like my number one rule with like a lot of guys, I'm like, if you're going to plant a church, try to plant the church that you'd want to go to if you weren't the pastor.
Yeah.
Assuming you're a normal person. Like, you know. And okay, so you come, how do you end up, lots of good churches in the area. What about two cities? Like, what about the culture, the vision, the values, the people, whatever it is? What drew you to Winston?
Yeah, so
or to two cities.
Yeah, so we wanted to find a church that we could be fully engaged in. Yep. It was important that we find a church where our girls. I've got 5 kids. You know, at the time
you have 5 girls. You are
5 daughters.
Biblical.
Yes.
Sorry. You have 5 daughters.
Yeah.
Like a biblical Old Testament family.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And so at the time, you know, my oldest is finishing off her junior year when we get here, and so we're like, we got high school, we got middle school, we got elementary, and so we want to find a place that my kids can, you know, it's, you know, the plumb line here. You know, it's where they can meet Jesus and make friends.
Yes.
That wasn't the language that we were looking at, but that was
That's
what we
every
were,
parent's heart.
Right.
Yeah.
But then also a place a place for Laura and I could also be fed the word and get deeply involved in serving in ministry with wherever God opens the door for. And so we started looking for churches, as this is really the first time. I mean, I've been in pastoral ministry up until this point.
This is the first time you're not going to be a pastor, actually. We can return to your story about being a pastor, but basically, you're going, I've thought about that for myself. Like, okay, what would it be like to go off staff, move somewhere else, and then go to a church after I was on staff at church for years?
Yeah.
So you start looking around.
Yeah, so we looked around. We looked around in the area that was closest to our home. Really wasn't finding a fit. I'd heard some great things about two cities. I think I've told you this before.
Love this story.
Is that it's the beginning of 2022, and you're preaching through Song of Solomon, which I think is fantastic.
Oh yeah, I get it.
But like, I'm going to be walking into the service with a 17, a 15, and a 13-year-old daughter, and I'm like, I don't know this church, and I don't know.
I get it.
I don't know Pastor Kyle, and I don't know if this is the right place for us to start off with. And so I waited, you know, and we waited. We were looking at other churches. I was listening online, appreciated everything that I heard, that it was coming from, like, this is something that was needed. This is a book that's great to walk through.
Yeah. I get it, but you got a bunch of teenage girls going, I don't know this church. I don't know their philosophy. I don't know what, because, you know, some pastors can be a little more shock jockey with some of that stuff. I get it. Yeah.
And so, so the series was ending. I knew that next week you were launching into the book of James. We came and we're like,
never went back.
Yeah, we never went back.
Sorry, you came back, never went back. That's what I meant. Sorry.
And then we went, you know, we quickly got involved in the Weekender, and then got plugged into community group, and it was fantastic. I mean, it was right. I mean, we got involved in just the sweetest of groups. You know, you know, we were involved in the same group, Aaron and Sarah Smith, and a great group of people that were all in. I mean, it wasn't like, hey, people were just coming out of convenience. It was a committed group of people where we were having the opportunity to, on a weekly basis, open up our Bibles, open up our lives, and just a really sweet time of being involved.
I love it. Well, you know, it's interesting because I want to I want you to tell some of your story about how you ended up coming on our staff, because what I think sometimes people they can look at someone like you and go, oh, I can't ever do what Luke does. I could never be a pastor. I could never be on staff. But part of it is a story, not just a story God wrote beforehand. We can go back to some of your ministry experience beforehand, but it's actually, I mean, wasn't there a moment, if I'm remembering this correctly, there was a moment where you're asked to be a community group leader?
Yeah.
I mean, tell that so because
Yeah.
like it's kind of like because a lot of times a lot of these places we're in now, we can often look back to, hey, here was another decision. Because I would say you probably wouldn't be on staff if you weren't a community group leader, because you wouldn't have been in our pipeline. We wouldn't have known you. We wouldn't have heard about how you're a great shepherd and lead. You know what I'm saying?
Sure,
So tell about that. Like, how did you end up being a community group leader?
Yeah, so I got involved in serving, and it was great. I was involved
You
with,
were involved,
with kids
no question.
ministry, but then I was in a really comfortable spot with going back to community, and that was hard. I was like, Laura and I were starting to have that conversation of there's always the draw, there's always the pull of like, hey, we need more community group leaders, and it's just like, do I do it? I know I can't. God, do I really do it?
Yeah, because you're in such a great community. You moved your whole family down there. The Smiths are great, so go ahead.
And then, it was a conversation. I don't know if you remember, we were walking through the parking lot. I was walking through the parking lot.
Well, I remember not in high resolution, but I remember, because a lot of times with community groups, I'm less involved now, but we would tag different pastors to go, okay, you talk to him, you talk to him, you talk to him. Yeah. And we had a little bit of a relationship through Pregnancy Network and just seeing you around. And so I was like, man,
So and it wasn't like it wasn't like a high pressure of like, hey, we need you.
We need you.
Yeah. It was, hey, would you be at least willing to have a conversation with Nathan to talk about, community group leadership? I'm like, of course. I mean, I'll have a conversation. And so that then led to me launching out with my own community group. Laura and I were hosting, leading. We also have the perfect setup because we have teenage daughters that can do the babysitting.
It's amazing.
And it was just the sweetest time. It was, we left a really good group, launched, and just a really great group of people too. That God was faithful in bringing the right people within to our group as well. But then in that season, it was like more ministry opportunities started opening up as I went further along. As not only within the group, but then also opportunities were opening for me to get together for breakfast or for lunch with other younger guys. I mean, here I am. I'm now in my mid 40s, and I've got teenage daughters. Now I've got a daughter that's in her 20s. So I'm a step ahead of some younger guys, and I'm getting more and more opportunities just in life experience to look back and say, hey, here's some things that I'm learning. Here's some things that I have learned, and doing some discipleship along the way. And so God was just pulling my heart more and more towards ministry again. I'm doing a lot of ministry that in a lay leadership role, whether it's in my community group or mentorship type opportunities, but then also coaching community groups that opened up an opportunity.
So that's just for our listeners. That's you investing in other community group leaders, having and really we would say the average coach has his own little church in a lot of ways. Yeah. You had 3 or 4 community groups, and those community groups have 15, 20 people. All of a sudden, you're caring for close to 100 people. Yeah. Yeah,
and so at the same time, there was this pull back towards ministry, but then also like this questioning of is the Pregnancy Network, as much as I love the organization.
You were doing a great work there. I know you were. Yeah.
And is this where I'm going to be at long term? And number of factors there that just aren't wrong, but just aren't like, I don't know if this is it.
I get it. Come on, you had an itch to be back on church staff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I don't do this enough, but I mean, I love I don't share this probably with everyone listening enough, but I love our staff, and I love being a pastor, and I love working with the church. I mean, I just, people like sometimes will be like, man, do you want your kids to go into full-time ministry? I'm like, depends on the church.
Yeah.
But if it's a church like Two Cities, absolutely. Even if only for a season, it has been such a blessing, such a joy. It's all I've ever, I mean, I have worked other jobs, but that was all in college and summers. I've always been full-time. I've always had a Sunday to Thursday schedule. Yeah. And I love it. I love the Sunday. Anyway, so, okay. So you're leading a community group, you're coaching a community group. Let me tell the story from our end, which I think you know all this, but basically we start to have people in Lexington. I know you know this part of the story. We start to have people in Lexington, Matt Jernigan, who's a dear friend of both of ours, saying, hey, let's put something down in Lexington. And I've told the story before, but it goes from a couple community groups to we know we need something to we have a gathering down there. And when we first have this gathering, which we just got out of we'll get to here, as we're at the Lexington campus, we did it well, but it's a little real estate office with a little hallway. Yeah. And everything's on a screen. And when we first went down there, we sent Pastor Stephen. This is the part that I think you know, but just want to clarify. Yeah. We sent Pastor Stephen and Zach Meyer down there. Yep. And some other help. And we just said, guys, we don't know. We love you. We don't know how long you'll have to be down there. We don't know everything that this is going to become. But basically, I think it was week 1. It might have been before this, but it was close to week 1 or week 2 of being a community gathering. So we're talking mid-September where we're like, we need a campus pastor now. Like, Dave's really good at just getting a feel for it. Just like, we need it. We need to find him. And he needs to start ministering to those people right now. And we're just like, well, how do you do that? And we're still discovering together, the role of a campus pastor and how he relates to his campus and the other campus and everything. But we were like, man, we know that, like, if you read any books on campus on campuses, they all say, like, the campus pastor will make or break a campus. No pressure, but I mean, in the sense of, like, if you get the person who has the complete opposite culture of your church, it just isn't going to work. They could be the godliest, greatest person ever, So it was one of those hard things, and I'm not saying that in the future we won't find campus pastors who are not already in our church, but we were praying, like, Lord, could this be somebody in our church? And I don't remember how all this came up. We do what we often do, which is the staff pastors, because we're here all the time. We get together and we're just like, all right, who? Like, break open the community group leaders. Like, break open the, like, is there any, if there's somebody, they're going to be a community group leader and or coach. And I'd be very surprised if our campus pastor is in our church and not one of those. And I think, you may know this, I think it was Justin Mormon who recommended you.
That's what I've heard.
Okay,
yes.
okay, that's what
I'm
I'm trying to remember the moment where he was just like, and we're like, Luke, not that we just said, Luke, and you're at the Pregnancy Network at the time, and I think he had some, he loves it there, but he's thinking about church. He's had a passion for ministry stuff and being in the local church, and then just one by one, because I'm not often as connected to everything, this pastor on our staff says, oh, dude, Luke's community group loves him. Well, he's doing a wedding coming up, and man, they love him, and oh man, he serves and they love him. And we just started to go, man, I don't know all that a campus pastor is, but loving people and having those people love him, like the kind of person who goes, man, everywhere we put this guy, everybody beside him and under him loves him. So that's when we start to decide to have the conversation with you. Now, did Dave have the conversation with you after a prayer night?
Yeah. So
okay, because what happens is, like, Dave, which I love about Dave. Dave's like, he is a worker bee, and he has a to-do list, and if I tell Dave something, it is like the chance that it's done by the end of the day is like almost 100% with a text. It's done kind of thing, and so we're like, all right, Dave, you make the first. Just ask Luke if he's interested. And I didn't know that Dave was going to, Dave's like, I'm not wasting any time. We just prayed and worshiped. So tell the story of, like, you getting asked and your initial thoughts.
Yeah. So it was Monday night, the week of Thanksgiving. And I was here some of my girls were here, but I was mostly here by myself because my wife was off with one of our girls at a basketball game. And so I'm standing around afterwards and talking with one of the guys from my community group. And Dave comes by and says, hey, can I talk to you for just a second? And so we go.
I saw him. He pulls some seats out. You guys are right in the.
So we go off to the side of the auditorium and we sit down. He's like, we would like for you to apply to become the Lexington campus pastor. And I'm thinking on the inside of, like, well, I can't say yes right now because my wife's not here, and I probably should have a conversation with her first.
Dude, I love you, man. That's so funny. But you were joyful.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, I was like it was such an honor to even be considered for it. Because Dave and I actually had some conversations about ministry to thinking things through of, and when I had that conversation with him, this was several months before, it wasn't thinking about the Lexington campus. It was just like ministry in general. And
by the way, if I can interrupt you, one of the reasons Dave really felt strongly about you is because in that interaction, he said, here's a couple areas I think you could grow in. Or maybe you even asked, how could I grow? And he said, well, here's a couple areas I could grow in. And you basically went and read those things and listened. I mean, he saw in you, we've always seen in you a pastor and a leader, but he saw in you like and a guy who has a culture, but like a learner. And you know this being on our staff, feedback is a really big deal on our staff.
Yeah.
And just a person who wants feedback, receives feedback, and responds to feedback. So sorry, keep going.
Yeah. And so Dave and I have that conversation and we're talking things through. And then I just remember as we're sitting there and David sees you walking across the stage as you're finishing some things up, and Dave calls you over and you're like, I know what you're talking about. and so it was a great night. And I went home that night and I talked with Laura, and because David told me, hey, we need an answer from you by a week from now. And I was like, not a problem.
Yeah.
I was thinking I could have an answer to you by tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I went home and like we could see where God was at work and where God was closing a door and opening another. And like this is where we are to be. Like, and this is conversations that Laura and I have been talking about, not necessarily about the Lexington campus, but like just about ministry and about life, and that God was taking us somewhere. We didn't know exactly where it was.
Yes.
And at the right time, he stepped in and, and revealed, it's like, it's Lexington.
Yes.
And so I responded, filled out the application for elders, which
is long.
Yes.
Yes.
Which it was super encouraging too. I mean, it took me probably 6 to 7 hours to finish it.
Yeah.
But it's like we take at Two Cities Church eldership seriously.
Yeah.
And so, which led to then a conversation the following week.
And how quickly, so we have this conversation with you. So we launched the gathering, community gathering, just timeline it, officially at our Heights conference, or sorry, the week after Heights. We do that in September. Yeah. When do we talk to you? Roughly?
So the end of November, the week of Thanksgiving.
That's right. So that's what happens. So we start getting in this and going, we need a campus pastor. We spend about a month thinking through who it is. Then we ask you.
Yep.
And then you start.
So I officially started at the beginning of this year.
January.
Yes.
That's right. That's right. And so you were able to go down, immediately be able to be the campus pastor, even before we always say we went people, place, pastor. Yeah. We really didn't have place until this last week. Yeah. According to when we're recording this. Yeah. And so we now have a place, but we didn't have a place, but we were like, if we don't have a place, we have people, we need a pastor. So you begin to go down there.
Yes.
Talk about your experience. Like what has it been like? Cause you go down there. Okay. I'm trying to remember my own timeline now. When you go down there, do we have this building secured?
So it's like on the line. We are very close. I
appreciate your faith and our faith, and because there could have been a season where you could be in that. There was nothing wrong with it, but you could have been in that real estate office in a temporary setup for a lot longer.
It wasn't a guarantee. Yes. It was in the midst of the conversation with the current building that we have, the church that owns the facility. Are they willing to do it? The vote hadn't happened yet.
No, it did happen. We barely. We're excited that it passed. And okay, so talk about and whatever. And I'll ask questions if I want to fill in any blanks. But talk about from January 1st or whenever. So you start till April 20th. Okay, so you've got almost 4 months. What is it like? What is the Lexington Community Gathering like, and what were you guys doing to prepare to be a campus?
So one of the first things that I did when I hit the ground running is trying to meet with as many men as I possibly could. Yeah. So lots of breakfasts, lots of lunch. There was a couple of days where I had a double lunch. It was fantastic because I was just meeting men and just seeing their heart for the Lord, but then also the heart for the community. That's right. And so getting an opportunity to build relationship, because I didn't want to do it from afar. I mean, I'm still, working on selling my house and moving down to Kernersville, but moving from Kernersville to Lexington area. But I wanted to have relational, just a connection with the people there. And so started just meeting with the guys, and it's like, hey, how many breakfasts, how many lunches, how many times that I can to build that relationship. But then, so I see so many people are all in. Like they love Two Cities Church. Yes. And they love what they saw here, whether it was at Northwest Boulevard or whether it was here at Patterson Avenue. And they're like, I want to bring this into my community. I love it. And so many people are just all in. And so it was just fantastic seeing that. And then meeting in that space, like the willingness of the people to set up, to tear down, to show up early, we're moving from an office space to turning it into a nursery or turning it into the elementary classroom. It's church planting. I mean, it really is. It's set up, tear down. Mm-hmm. When your services are over, you're tearing it down. And we had to learn some lessons. We started with 3 services. Yeah. And we said, okay, we don't probably need this evening service. It's going to be a lot more sustainable if we do that. And we were able to do that and fit that with capacity wise. Okay, talk just really briefly. Because you have built a friendship and a relationship with Isaac. Yeah. So that's been another really special thing. Is Isaac is a great guy. He may listen to this podcast.
but I know that he's pastoring.
Yeah.
You're pastoring. You're pastoring different people, but you're pastoring different people in the same place.
Right.
So what does that relationship look like?
I love Isaac.
He's
so Isaac Radonovich, the pastor of Pilgrim Wesleyan Church, and just a great young guy.
Yeah,
and
I agree with you.
Here he is. He's 25 years old. Him and his wife have been married. Yeah, married since last fall, and seeking to lead this ministry. Leading the church there. And they have been so gracious to us.
Yes.
I mean, there's been a lot of things that they're adjusting to because we're making changes there within the building, and it's a building that's been the same for a long period of time. And so there's some adjustments being made there, but it's been encouraging. I love stopping in, peeking my head around the corner as we now both have office space down there.
I love it.
As the building is now completed.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that. So talk about I hope that people that are at our Winston-Salem campus, I have two hopes that they will just once just go down and say, I want to see what's going on down in Lexington. I want to go down and visit Lexington. I also hope that there's people listening who maybe they're in Lexington and they're looking for a great church. Maybe they fell out of church. They would go to the Lexington campus, or people who are still driving much farther than they need to come to our Winston-Salem campus. Anyway, I think that's all going to happen. But I think it's hard for people to get excited about something that they've never experienced before, they've never seen before. Talk to us about it. The church is way more than a building. Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
But buildings are important.
Yeah.
And so what did you guys end up doing to that building?
Can I just circle back for a second
Please.
to Isaac,
Yes.
and what they're doing, and allowing us to get into the space. So we're meeting at 9 and 11 o'clock. And in order for us to do that, they're moving their services. And so I want to honor and acknowledge that, because I mean, they're moving it to the afternoon, which is a heavy move for
not ideal for a church. Their church is a lot of older people in it. Mm-hmm. And they were very godly to make space for us and to let us, like you said, upfit, do things like a church like that normally would not allow such an upfit for sound, light, video, things like that. But talk about some of the things we've done.
So February 1st, we really hit the ground running with getting renovations.
This is month 2 of you're here. I remember Dave said to you, basically, you're the contractor. This is early on as a campus pastor. You're going to be overseeing all this. Yeah.
So Mark Lamoureux, he's doing a fantastic job of being our go-to guy, general contracting, and really overseeing the project. But that first day that we were able to get into the building and start doing some work, I think we had roughly 30 people show up, which is just a great day. I mean, we had so many work days leading up to our launch, and people just showed up, giving up their Saturdays.
People working together, shoulder to shoulder, dreaming together. Yeah.
And so a big part of the day was, we're just pulling out a bunch of stuff. It was that second floor had not been used in quite some time. The second
floor, to clarify, the second floor is where
our
the entire kids ministry is going to be. And one of the coolest things about that is we were able to put a bathroom up there.
Yes.
Which is a massive deal for our kids' workers.
Right. And so just tore out a bunch of stuff, threw a lot of things away, but like getting it ready to be just remodeled. And so it looks completely different.
It's
I know that
amazing.
You've been in there beforehand.
I was in there before and after. And honestly, like I said, at the Volunteer Appreciation Night, I was amazed at just how many, this is just at the Volunteer Appreciation Night, how many kids there were. Yeah. And it was bright, and it felt like two cities. And it was clean, and it was fun, and there was check-in, and there was people in the kid shirts, and it was just great.
And so with that, you got that prepped, the VHQ, which is, old fellowship hall. You think old wood paneling that I remember that's like actually still my parents' basement. That's what it looks like from. It's all bright. It's now has a space where our volunteers
you guys painted it all white.
Yeah, and our volunteers previously in the real estate office were just hanging out in a small, lobby at the front of the building, trying to be quiet so that the kids ministry, which is right around the corner,
it was all squished, dude. Yes.
And so now our volunteers have a place to have their meetings at the beginning of the day, before they serve, a place to hang out if they're serving on the welcome team or the parking lot team during a service. So super excited for that. And then also the auditorium, which is there's probably some things that we probably would have done more. We would have loved to have put chairs in there, but that's fine. Yeah. It really does blend like the traditional with the modern.
When I first walked in there, I was like, this is amazing. Yeah. It felt like Goler when our first building, because it was the red pews, the red carpet.
Right.
But it's just warm. Like I'm in there, again, just for the Volunteer Appreciation Night, there's 150 of us in there. and we're just singing together. And I'm like,
Yeah.
this is amazing. I'm literally down there going, I love how this feels.
Yeah.
And I told our staff this story, and so you heard this, but when I had an opportunity, because I wasn't preaching the week before Easter, it was your guys' last community gathering. So me and my family go down there, love it. I know all these people. We're talking. It was great. I sit down, and the worship was great. Even though at that time it was like, oh man, this is passionate.
Yeah.
And then Caleb preaches a message, great message, and I'm like, I think I'm getting more out of this message genuinely at this campus. It's a little smaller. I'm more focused. I'm just looking at the screen. He's really big on the screen. I can see his facial. I mean, I'm like, I knew campuses worked, for lack of a better word. I know they were effective. I know they were fruitful. But just me going down there just before it's even the full campus, and I'm like, I just went to church. I just had an experience with the Lord. I just was with my brothers and sisters in Christ. And it was in a little real estate office, using technology right now. Yeah. But we're one step away from where we are now with this. So you've got, let's end with talking about, we talked a little bit about the journey for you getting there. If we had more time, we could go into like, man, I just love how God has been writing your story, your family story, like your ministry experience, your Bible college experience, your shepherding heart, all of this different things. I want to talk about the staff that are there, as I think about just the final, because I've tried to communicate to go, listen, we are dead serious about Lexington. Yeah. We're serious about campuses, and we're not just going to like say it and then it's like, no, we're going to make a significant financial investment, which is what we did with, like you said, there's a massive LED screen, there's very good sound.
Yes.
But the building is fixed up, all that. But as important, if not more important is the quality staff that we staff it with. So why don't you just tell us, I know at this point, right now, you're the only full-time staff person, but you have an army of volunteers. You already mentioned Mark and others. Talk to us about the other 4 part-time staff. Talk to us about what are they doing, and what does it look like? What I'm interested in this, just like, what does it look like? I know how you guys are integrated here at the Winston-Salem campus. Yeah. What does it look like? So basically, tell us about the staff, what they do, and then what does it look like for you guys to be a campus staff together? Yeah,
and so we've got 4 other people that are on our staff. I'll start with Tina. Yeah. Tina Hinkoffer was our first one, kids ministry, and like this past weekend, we launched this past weekend. We had 76 kids.
Unbelievable, seriously.
Yeah, and so it's a super valuable. I mean, I tell you about like one of the reasons that I'm at Two Cities is because I find the value in, I want a ministry to my kids. I want a ministry for myself and for my wife, but also to my, from the youngest to the oldest.
100%.
And so she's overseeing that staff, that team of volunteers. And so she's stepping in there, and just her getting that space ready, it was so crucial. Yeah. I was making sure that every detail, every box was checked, everything looked and was ready to minister from the youngest to the oldest, from those in the nursery up through our elementary school. And so just doing a fantastic job getting that team going. And
that was neat because she was up with us here and learning all of our systems. I mean, it's the perfect picture of how a campus works. And then we send her down to really where she's from. Right. So that she can do ministry locally in her community. And then she's thrilled about that. Yeah. 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 And then we got Trent Santos. Yes. TNT. That's right. TNT so Trent oversees our First Impressions team, which, as you know, is sometimes people will decide, am I coming back within the first few minutes? 100%. Yeah. What was like the park here? Is it organized? Do I know where I'm going? Right. Can I check my kids in? Is this a mess? Yeah.
And so he's overseeing all of that with our security team, to our welcome team, to he is on point of getting those people prepared and ready so that when those people show up on our campus, it's like we know what it's like to show up to a church where I've never been before. And to feel lost. I don't want that within our campus. And Trent is doing a fantastic job of making sure that people know, and are welcomed as they come in. Then we've got Nicholas, which our Winston-Salem campus had.
We had him just for, so funny. The other night I was talking to someone about him, and they said, man, the one time he had his hair cut fresh. This is I'm like, were you worshiping or looking at Nick? They said he had his hair cut all fresh, and from the side profile, when he was singing that one time, he looked just like Phil Wickham. I was like, I don't know, but okay. But there was a lot of people that were we're accepting all of our staff. I think because all of a sudden there's not that many people that just appear on our stage. Yeah. And he is on our stage and he's singing, and then he's singing from the piano, and then he's doing all these things, and people are like, who is that? What is that? You know, and we're like, boom, he's going to be the worship leader at Lexington. So talk about him.
Yeah. And so, I mean, just a unique situation where, so he lives down there south of Lexington.
Yes. He lives in Denton or something like that. Yeah.
And so he starts attending at our Lexington campus, comes to the Weekender, starts getting plugged in, starts getting involved. Well, Nicholas has not only a background in music, like this is what he does, like, throughout the week. This is his full-time job.
He plays with his brother.
They sing all over the place. And so he joins our team. And this past weekend was our first weekend that we had. So Easter Sunday, it was, I know this will, whatever the podcast will air.
I'm not sure myself. Yeah.
But it was so special.
Yes.
Where, I mean, it's been great. It has been really good. The back of the real estate office, following along, worshiping, being led from Winston-Salem has been great. But this takes it just to another level. It just makes it more personal, where you have people in the room leading us in worship. And so, and one of the things that we've talked about, I know that we've mentioned it, like we're not just sending the second best. Yes. We're not just sending
we're not giving Lexington the leftovers. Yeah, that's right.
And so him joining the team and leading that, I'm excited for.
It raises the temperature 100%.
Yeah. And then the last person that we added to our team was Josh Bond.
Yes.
Leading our student ministry, and just an important piece of the puzzle as well.
Yes.
Student ministry, part of my story is like, and I'll repeat it again.
My story too.
Yeah. I repeat it back is like, I want to disciple my kids, absolutely I do. But I know I need other people to speak into their life.
100%.
And so we want to have that. And so that has been going for the past about a month and a half or so. We're meeting, we're just getting started. And so with that, we're meeting every other Sunday night at someone's home. I know that that's how Two Cities started.
That's exactly, we're basically running the play in Lexington that we ran in Winston-Salem when we were the size of Lexington's campus. I mean, it starts in homes, and we'll see where it goes, but it starts in homes and it's middle schoolers and high schoolers. Right. And then it's homes, but middle schoolers in this homes and high schoolers this homes. And then it's homes for a while and one monthly gather. Anyway, you get it. So I think I'm really excited. I mean, I think we said from the beginning, okay, we have to have people, pastor, place.
Yeah.
And then I would say we have to have like certain key ministries completely up and running.
Yeah.
And day one, it has to be kids ministry, first impressions, groups. They have to be up and running.
Yeah.
Weekender is still connected here at Winston-Salem as well. So that's kind of up and running. And then, but we just felt like, man, there needs to be an option, a growing option that's going to become a full ministry to students because there's just so many people that are, like you said, I mean, I've heard J.D. Greer say before that his mom went to be with the Lord, but he is a really godly dad, had a really godly mom. And he said, man, my parents were like the best parents and they did everything for me. And he goes, but almost every significant spiritual moment I had, they weren't there. And not because they didn't want to be, not because they were absent, but like, you do all these things and it's like, man, who knows what God's going to do through the kids ministry or through a camp or through a retreat or through a mission trip. And sometimes mom and dad aren't there, but the youth ministry was there to walk with them. And also, one other thing is just in podcast on youth ministry, but I think another thing is, I think youth ministry exists as well for all of the people that do not have the Christian homes and families.
Sure, absolutely.
That they don't have the access to the gospel and discipleship. And so let's end with this. Tell me, so we've kind of gone from how did you get from where you are to on our staff and campus pastor. We talked a little bit about Lexington and how it got from community group gathering to full-fledged campus.
Yeah.
The staff who are there with the buildings, like all of that. Talk to me about just over the next year. I'm putting you on the spot a little bit. I don't need anything too grand, but just over the next year, what are some of your dreams and hopes for the Lexington campus?
Oh, man. I mean, I'd love to see our community groups grow. Mm-hmm. Obviously, so right now, I mean, we were at 3 at the beginning of this year. We've doubled to 6.
That's amazing.
I'd love to see that continue to grow. Where people are meaningfully getting involved. Obviously we want people there on a Sunday morning. Yeah. We want people to be sitting under the preaching of God's word, gathering with those people. But we also want it to just invade that community where it's like we've got, 12, 15, 20 community groups that are just all across the area where people are meaningfully connecting with God's word, but then also connecting with each other, living it out. Those, the same things that we have that are going on here with, and it's happening already, but like the ministry, the missions, the mercy, where we are seeing people who are being transformed by the gospel, seeing the goodness of Jesus Christ, and can't help but bring it to the people around them.
Yes.
I want to see that grow.
I love it.
It's something exciting that I see on a regular basis of people showing up to our campus and saying, I have never seen a church like this before.
Yes.
And I want to see that continue to be echoed for the next year, for the next decade of more and more people coming in close contact, not because it's something about us, but that God is doing something through us.
Yes.
And so I'm excited to see that.
Yeah. Well, man, honestly, as I think about, I'm not just saying this because you're here, but as I think about the Lexington campus, I really do think, man, this is going to be a standard for how to do things in the sense of, the quality of ministry we're doing to people, the type of people that are on the launch team, the heart behind it.
Yeah.
And I'm excited, man. I'm excited for you to be here. And really, you've set a great standard of what a campus pastor will be. And we don't know, what I'm saying is I feel like for sure we are in the campus age of our church. We're doing many different things. We're planning churches. That's a whole other podcast. Yeah. We're sending world missionaries. We're deepening the people that are already here through, preaching, discipleship, restore, all these other things that we're doing. But as I think about it, I'm like, man, I had somebody the other day after the service come up to me and say, I'm in Mount Airy and we need to have a campus in Mount Airy. And I'm like, tag you're it. Kind of like I love your heart. We do have people there. Yeah. We need a place. We need a pastor. In a lot of ways, honestly, the hardest thing for us is to find the place. Because we have so many great servant-hearted leaders in our church. I'm like, there's a pastor in here somewhere for these people. And we have people coming from all over. It's really at the end of the day, Lord, would you open up some doors, just like you did at a real estate office, just like you did with a partnership with the church and Pastor Isaac. And so, man, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Absolutely. And I'm going to continue to be praying for you guys, celebrating, and just thanks for leading the way down to Lexington.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
If you are listening or watching online, I want to encourage you, if you live near or close to Lexington, I want you to check out our Lexington campus. Like I said, I was there a few weeks ago when it was still a gathering, and I was overwhelmed by just how fruitful and faithful of a gospel witness it was. So I hope you'll check it out, and then I'll see you next week on Open Bible, Open Life.